Hi guys, we're back. There we go. My name is Alexis. I play Gilly. And let's get this little interview bit started here. Like Gilly, I am a lover of music. I am a musician. I sing in a band. The band is called Blue Tail. You can find us on YouTube. We've been working on mixing and mastering our first album, so we have a single out. But I also am big into like sci-fi and fantasy, and I lover of all creative arts. I cosplay, and I've been playing D&D for about the better part of a decade, I'd say. So yeah. That, the whole music thing kind of leads me into my next question here about what made me pick my character. I have a very, very, very special place in my heart for bards as a musician. I've been singing for a very long time, played piano for 10 years, like, love it. So, bards have just always been my favorite, and I just always hoped that one edition would do them real good justice. And finally 5th Ed came along, and Bard was wonderful. I just loved it so much. Didn't have a chance to play a Bard yet. Watched Sam Riegel play one on Critical Role. Amazing, loved it. So I knew that I had to play one. So yeah, I figured I needed to play a Bard. Lore is really interesting for me because it helps out with versatility, and I like to play characters that are relatively versatile. And it also helps you, being a lore bard, being a narrative conduit in a story is really interesting and neat. Something that I hadn't really done before, so I wanted to try that out. And then developing kind of the personality of the character that I wanted to play to help me kind of work through some of the things I was struggling with as a player. You know, things like over-planning and overthinking things. I wanted to play somebody who was more easygoing and just kind of made decisions and went with it. So that helped to develop Gilly's personality quite a bit, and became a noble mostly because it was interesting story-wise, and because I knew that Justice was going to need maybe some help in reinforcing some of his noble-ish, his alter egos, if you will. So, let's see. How am I like my character and different? So in real life, I am a very, usually a very, upbeat, cheerful, smiley person. In kindergarten and middle and elementary school, my gym teacher called me Smiley because I was always smiling. And so that I get to pull through into Gilly. I'm a little more jaded as an adult, but you know, I still get to pull that cheerfulness through, and it's great. And like I said before, the musicality of Gilly is nice and neat. So that's another area where I'm similar. But I am absolutely not a morning person. I am grumpy and unreasonable in the morning. And Gilly is absolutely not. Gilly is definitely a morning person, and she's just chipper and cheerful all the time. And I have a good attitude about a lot of things, but I am not that way constantly. I just can't be. But I'm also not anywhere near as naive as Gilly is about the world and how things work and things like that. So some distinct similarities and differences. It kind of leads into what I was saying for one of the things that's difficult about playing Gilly is staying jovial and lighthearted about everything all the time. Serious matters really get me being the serious person. So it's been a struggle trying to find ways to lighten up Gilly's mood and lighten up how I act as Gilly in those serious moments in game. And there have been some really serious moments in games, so I'm really being run through the ringer. Thank you so much, Matt, for that.
You're welcome.
Am I the only one that hasn't blamed him for something so far?
You get to it.
I didn't blame him for anything.
I mean, I contributed to this by the character that I made, so what are we gonna do here? I knew what I was getting into. Also, let's see, what else? Using the accent, that has been difficult. Trying to get better at an accent, and one thing that really helped with that was so Liam from Critical Role pointed out that there's a website called, and the acronym is IDEA, but it gives you different dialects from different areas and different examples of how different people speak, and it's really, really helpful. So if you want to look into bringing accents into your roleplay, that really helps. Maybe we could put that out on our Twitter or Facebook or something at some point. That link is really, really helpful. But the things that are really easier about playing Gilly are generally just going with the flow, because it takes away from me as a player. I get too much in my head and thinking too much about everything that I want to do and how I want everything to go. It's a terrible tendency to have for the kind of game that we want to play, right? So being Gilly and just going with the flow and not worrying about perfectly planning everything and just going ahead and doing a thing, and if everybody is in more or less agreement on something, just going ahead with it. That has helped a lot, and it makes playing Gilly very easy. So that is very nice. Let's see, my favorite moment in game so far is a weird one. It's the moment, well, it's kind of a two-parter. The first part is the moment that Gilly lost her hand. Like that fight where Gilly was under a madness effect from the mines that they were in made her really, really suggestible. Anything anyone told her to do, she would just do it. That was the effect that she was under. And there was a disintegration field blocking the treasure and the flicker of Kosuth that we were trying to get for a weapon for Civilius. And there was also, well, there was something else back there that we thought was going to help us stop the fight. It didn't, but I was told by one of the party members to grab it. Somebody said, somebody grab this device. So I went ahead and I reached my hand through, and luckily was not fully disintegrated, only lost these two fingers in my hand. These guys here on my right hand, so that's great. And it totally shook Gilly. It was extremely sobering for Gilly. It was this moment where she realized not only does she feel like she doesn't bring as much to the table as the rest of the group in certain ways, but she is maybe not cut out at all for this adventuring stuff. So she is not anywhere near as easygoing and lighthearted when it comes to combat anymore. That has definitely shaken her. And another little moment that I was really, that I really loved in the game was just like the process of finding and deciphering the contract that ended up creating Gilly. That was, ooh, that was a big whammy. That one was really emotionally, story-wise and emotionally-wise, that one was a big moment. And obviously very character-defining for Gilly. Yes. The aspect of my character that I did not prepare for or that surprised me in-game. So, the very first fight that we were in was on a train, and barely knew these people that I was traveling with, just knew that I was there to protect Civilius as part of my contract. And when we were attacked, we ended up killing some of our attackers, and they were elves, they were people, you know, just Gilly had never participated in killing anyone before, and that really kind of shook her, and she was, you know, she knew that that happened in the world, but she wasn't actually prepared for being part of that. She knew that would be part of taking on this contract, potentially. Saving Civilius from threat might mean putting down the threat, and if the threat is a person, then what are you going to do? But and self-defense and all that, but she has become a bit of a pacifist. Not 100% pacifist, but tends towards being a pacifist. So she's been more reluctant on using some of her more damaging spells, especially when it comes to fighting people and fighting other sentient creatures. So that is something that I, Alexis, did not prepare for. I was not thinking about ahead of time. It just kind of happened in game and realized, oh hey, that's a thing that my character should think about. So that was surprising for me. And my favorite fight in the game, oh man, my favorite fight was when we went to space and fought a voidling. Because it was so surprising and unpredictable for me, at least, as a player. Did not expect that in the middle of a resurrection ceremony I would be drawn into a different dimension and fought by some unknown entity that was only bent on one thing: getting to Sibelius somehow. Looked like killing him, I don't know, but that was terrifying for my character, and it was unnerving for my player because it was like, oh crap, not only are we small people in a very big world, feeling very small and inconsequential, but also feeling like super underprepared and underpowered for what we were up against in the moment. That was, and the fight was really exciting and really dynamic. It was really intense fight, and it was a lot of fun. But it was very, very unnerving, very nerve-wracking. That's the word that I should use there. We were really concerned about whether or not we were going to get out of there. Let's see. What else? Locations in Edda. So I am really excited. I'm really excited to visit Gish because I think a lot of stuff is going to happen when we get to Gish. There's a lot of... Gish is the capital of the continent that we're on currently, called Gishari. And considering all of the political tensions and the different feelings everybody has, all the characters have about different things in the moment right now, once we get to Gish, if we get to Gish at this rate, but when we get to Gish, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of excitement and political intrigue when we get there. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also excited to get to Mercinia because my family has a bit of history with the people who rule in Mercinia, and also Mercinia is where a lot of the healing happens. And Gilly's hand hasn't been able to be healed by normal magics, and Mercinia is one of the places she was pointed to look for actual healing options. So that is exciting, and I really am looking forward to getting there. But not on this continent, I'd have to say Athadia. Interested to see Athadia. I just want to know like what's going on over there, and see something that is completely different culture and everything like that. Okay, if I had to play another character, I would play Selena because, one, I love, love, love druids. Love druids. They're great. If I was not playing a bard, I would probably be playing a druid. But also because Selena is a character who's been acting according to her conscience, regardless of the consequences to her as a person. And that is very inspiring. It is, it presents some interesting roleplay options, and again, like I said, I just freaking love druids. They're great. Especially in 5th edition. They're so good. How you guys doing? Let's see. Favorite die or dice? I do have some favorites. But I pick my dice every game according to the character that I'm playing. Don't roll your eyes at me, Matthew. I pick my dice before I play. Mostly, they're mostly the same each session for each character, but my favorites are in no particular order. I have this lovely copper guy. Let's see, will it focus? It's wonderful, and I love it. This blue swirly one.
Looks purple.
It's blue, you shush.
Check.
And then this one is purple.
Looks blue.
We'll see what colors come up. No, that one comes up blue, and that's a set that matches mine.
No, this one...
The blue set?
Oh, the blue one does.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the purple one.
And that one purple. So that's the same color purple as the other one, except it's got...
The purple one's from a set that was gifted to me from my husband for our wedding. Very nice. Lovely inscription on the box. And then the... I just love the other ones. Because they're pretty and they roll well. So... My superstition, though, I would have to say, I feel like the 1s and the 20s will balance each other out. So if you roll a natural 1, it means you're destined to have a natural 20. Doesn't always work out that way, but it's what I feel. And if you roll your dice ahead of time and you roll your natural 20s, you are setting yourself up for some big failure moments because you are going to have those natural ones. That's how I feel. Don't at me. Let's see. Okay. What creates a good gaming session? For me, it's knowing that everybody gets a chance to be in the spotlight and everybody gets a moment to shine. Something where we progress the story and everybody just comes away having had fun. Like that is a good session for me. And ways that we as a group and I as a player try to ensure that happens. So advice that I would give, who the hell am I to give advice, but you know, here I am. I would say, as we've talked about before, limiting cross-talking helps a lot, and practicing active listening. Thinking about the words that everybody is saying and thinking about how they impact you as your character and the story as a whole helps a lot. It makes you think about what actually is going on in the moment, and that's a big thing that is a difficult thing to get used to doing, and it really helps gameplay a lot, I feel. Knowing that there are no right or wrong answers, there are just D&D answers and things that happen. Just trusting that your DM is going to figure it out after you decide you want to do a thing. And also really knowing and understanding your character's motivations. Knowing the mechanics are extremely helpful, for obvious reasons. It keeps things moving smoothly. But knowing your character's motivations really helps you know how you're going to react in situations. It makes those moments of, I'm going to do this, as a reaction to that, much easier. And it has been one thing that has been helping a lot. Still working on getting better at those things, but there we are. So, that is me. What kind of questions do we have in chat? Anybody asking anything?
No.
Cool.
Yes, actually. Hold on.
Oh, sure. I can't see
It just
where it
hasn't
is.
updated yet. It's okay. I'll let you know.
That's fine. In the meantime, while you think about that, the dice for Gilly that we have picked out are these guys. Let's see. How do I do this? Hey.
I was going to say, you probably don't need to hold up the sheet of paper. You're
Probably
pale
not.
enough.
Yep. I
Someone
am
wants
pale.
to know, what
I
do you
am
think
quite
about
pale.
hags?
What do I think about
Somebody wants
hags?
to know.
Oh man, I'm super excited about hags being in the world. And I'm super excited about having to deal with hags, because that just sounds like it's going to make for a fun story. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't think it's going to go very good for Gilly and her family, but I'm excited for it. I don't know, does that answer your question as how I feel about hags? They're wonderful mechanisms for D&D stories. That's how I feel. Anything else?
Nope.
Alright, so these dice I picked for Gilly. Here, I'll put my head behind it because I'm pretty pale. And they will be given out according to whether or not you are following us on Twitter, right? Twitter. Twitter giveaway are the Gilly dice. So make sure that you are, following? I don't know, I don't Twitter. How does this work?
Follow Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter to be entered in our giveaway. Hey!